No excuses with Michael DiLeonardo. I'm your host, RJ Roger. We are going to answer, do a theory to a certain extent as to everybody's big question. Why didn't John Gotti move on Sammy? Um, and we got probably the only, or the best opinion we can probably get from an inside guy. The guy that knew John well, guy that knew Sammy well. Michael, how you doing?
Yeah, very good. Much better.
Um, so I want to jump right into this because I don't know, this could be a long or a short one because again, it's just a theory. We will never have the answer from John as to why.
Well, what I could say is there's many opinions and many theories why. We're just going to explore some of them, and then I'll give you my opinion, strong opinion on why. But there are many opinions, and everybody's entitled to that because there is no answer. It's a theory. That's it, plain and simple. Maybe Junior has a little bit. His son has a little bit more. His father disclosed that to him, which would be interesting. Maybe one day he'll come on and indulge everybody out there and tell us his opinion. It may differ from mine. You never know.
So I explored this personally when I was doing my own show a long time ago, and I have an opinion that's kind of the same, minus a couple different points. With because of you, I have a couple of things I used to think that I dropped from, and I've kind of evolved in some areas. But I want to kind of ask you some of the questions that I would have, or some of the reasons why I think John may not have moved on Sammy, and you can debunk or agree,
Okay.
and then maybe at the end tell me what you think, or maybe you do agree with me.
Okay. And a lot could be garnered from those tapes. There's a lot that really could be extracted from those tapes. He has a lot of reason there. He's ruminating. Army within an army, uh, you know, consolidating all the industries. John built that case. I know we said this many times, and people have heard it now and really digested our position now. I'm going to include you in our position now, Ajay, because I think you agree with the common sense, pragmatic end of John's ruminating. Um, so it is something that John really, really wrestled with as to why he didn't kill him. He was a man of action, but just remember, John didn't kill any of his crew. Always hold that in the back of your mind when discussing this. John had maybe a little loyalty to hold on to people, no matter how brash he came off, how he talked, how hard his words were. I'm killing this one, that guy's this, that guy's that, and Johnny Blowjob and all that other stuff. And he sounded really angry, like somebody could go any minute. Didn't happen. It happened with Willie Boy. And it happened with Oliveri, who killed somebody. John made those orders based upon things that had to be done, really had to be done. So John was not afraid to pull the trigger, tongue in cheek, on those things. And there's more. And Paul Castellano killing, etc. Don Bellotti. So John wasn't afraid to kill. I just want to lay a little groundwork here. That's why there's so much more that goes into him being disappointed, felt he was being deceived by Gravano. So I'll leave it to you now to throw some curveballs and fastballs underneath my chin.
All right. Well, so I got 5 or 6 points that we'll go through, but that I want to get your opinion on. So no one of these points is the answer, but collectively, kind of is a bit of my theory. So as when we get to the end, you'll kind of see where I'm going. But for one, opening up, One question I would ask you is to kill Sammy. How do you even do it? Because the guy was at tallies every day. The guy is surrounded by his own guys. He's a mastermind killer. He's killed many people. He's called himself a professional hitman, and he said, "I'm good at it." So, you're not just gonna walk him into a room and kill Sammy. It would have to be an inside job. Somebody in his crew would have had to be the person that killed him. How can you even conspire a killing against Sammy at that time? A guy who was so respected, so tapped in, close with all the families, close with all the captains. So you tell me.
You threw out different scenarios with being close to other captains. That's a whole other subject. And if anybody really believes he was that close to the captains, which that's a whole debunk on my part for Sammy's closest to captains because they're complaining. Well, let's get back to the setup of the hit. Let's just take that little specific. He's very easy to kill. He gets called to him. John says, we're going to meet. 3 of us are going to meet at such and such place. Sammy shows up. He walks in. Don't forget, Sammy don't hear these tapes. He shows up. He's got to show up at meetings. Sammy's not suspicious John's going to kill him. He has nothing to be worried about. According to Sammy, he's a loyal soldier bringing a ton of money in, right? So he has nothing to worry about. He says out of his own mouth how much he loved John and how much he respected John, how loyal was. Another whole other subject to go against what he really believes and who he loves and don't love. But that's easy. He's easy to get called in. He comes in, as John's crew, they bang him out, and it's over. You can bury him, we'll leave him in the street.
Okay.
That's the easy part. It's everything else that comes after that, the explanation as to why Gravano's no longer with him. Okay. So, yeah, you don't need that deception of having one of your friends set you up in this scenario. He's in administration. He has to show up. He can even tell Sammy, go get a place for us. Right? Go get a place. It could be his place and leave him right in the room. You don't even have to get a place. So two of his guys know about the meeting, or 3 of his guys know about. They drive him to this appointment or outside of there. What are they going to do? They're going to fall in line or they're going to die. So Louis Valerio always drove Sammy to meetings, just about every meeting and on the Raven Eye and elsewhere, right? Among some other guys. On a high-level meeting and go meet John, it would have been Louis. It wouldn't have been any other guy driving him, Eddie Garofalo or Louis Sassenti or Little Joey or any other guy he chose. It would have been Lou Valerio. And Lou Valerio knows the rules. And he would have stood down or died right there. That would have depended on John's feelings towards Louis at that moment, how his crew would react. Like I said, the killing of Sammy, which was your initial question, is easy. And vice versa. If Sammy wanted to clip John, just the mechanics of killing John sets up an appointment, and Sammy finds out, let's say he had got some inroads to find out John was really upset with him. Same thing could happen. Let John set up an appointment outside of the Raven, outside of the Bergen hunting fish, somewhere else. Sammy could have banged John.
As far as Sammy's crew, at that time, speak for the time period that we're in at the time of the tapes, would you say, from the best of your knowledge, does he have a loyal crew? Or does he have a crew that you could find the enemy within? You could find someone who would flip on him, turn on him?
No. I have to feel at that time. Again, a lot of people were not happy with Sammy. They didn't express it openly, of course. You would have been the next victim. But they know, like I said, this is in 89 when this tape happens. There's already guys dying around Sammy. We talked about it often. So people are very wary of Sammy, but Sammy is in administration, and Sammy's John, Sammy. It's the same thing. They're both ordering these murders, according to the crew. Just that Sammy's initiative with the crew has them afraid of their own guy. because they don't know what's going to happen next with this guy. Who's going to go? How do you offend this guy? But I still think with that, it's not at that point that somebody John could go to him and have him betray him. Even though when the boss calls you to do something, you have to do it. But that's just like John Gotti circle in the past. You won't go into one of those guys to clip John. There's no way. And I feel the same way in this instance with Sam. There's no way John could have even tried to compromise one of the guys in the crew.
Okay. All right, here's my next point. And respond however you would like. John moving on Sammy. If he were to kill Sammy, he looks like Gas Pipe Casso. And here's my justification for it. When you kill Sammy, after you got powerful captains that were clipped, DB, DeBono, Melito, you killed Tommy Bellotti, you killed Big Paul Castellano, you shelved the old timers, some of them, Toddles away. You got Joe Gallo, who was the consigliere. You shelved them, or you knocked them down. When you factoring all this stuff, now you got Sammy, right? Who is a guy who was with him on the hit, a guy who's everybody knows in New York. He has relationships in all 5 families in the Philly and Jersey. He's a big name. Yeah. You kill him at that time. You're piling that at the time. The family don't know why DeBono's being killed. You can tell us now, Sammy's killing them, taking the businesses, XYZ. But at the time, John's complaining upstairs. Everybody thinks it's me. Everybody thinks it's me. So the family, he's saying, they're thinking it's my green eyes. Now you clip Sammy. You look like at the moment you start scaring people, just like Gas Pipe started making guys flip who never even, they just say, this guy's a maniac. So at the time you kill Sammy, you're going to make bosses in New York. You're going to make captains in the family. You make the family start saying, this motherfucking John is killing everybody. You respond.
Well, you said it just about verbatim that I would say. And again, we got to go by with that tape to back up our opinion here on what happened. John does say this, even with the construction, even with the garbage. Tells Jimmy Brown, don't worry about it, I know about it. Meanwhile, he don't know about it. And same thing with the murders. Yes, John's starting to look like a vicious boss, that no one is safe. Everybody knew DB wasn't a threat. No family knew DB wasn't. Other families knew DB was not a threat. That you could have told, I said it before, you could have told DB, go stand in that corner. Or DB, go to Florida, go wherever you want to. See you later. Don't come back no more. Leave everything you got. He would have left. Right? So your point is extreme point that John's thinking about. That if I kill this guy, they're going to think it's me. They're going to think I'm doing all of this. They're going to think he's delusional or paranoid or greedy or all of the above. It's one of John's problems, what he's thinking. That's what I'm saying. I'm not in John's mind. I don't read his mind. It's the evidence around, the circumstantial evidence, his own words on tape that buttress this argument is, how do I kill Gravano when everybody thinks it's me, okay, and everything? How did not think I'm not the motivator? Don't forget, Angelo was the guy who borrowed the money from DB. We only have an advantage here. We're Monday morning quarterback and listen to these tapes. But that is a real problem for John, trying to explain that to his own family and other families, why he kills his underboss, or conseiller at this time, to be underboss. So it's not about law enforcement. John don't care about that, killing the guy. I know a couple of people had that opinion. Again, it's my opinion. You could hold on to your opinions. But John killed the boss and underboss in the middle of Manhattan, Christmas time. He's not worried about law enforcement. So it's not that. And it's not the money. But nobody knows that. This is a guy that people are going to say, outside the family especially, internally, yeah, there may be some guys talk about it and say, John's losing. He's killing captains, killing soldiers, killing associates. Now he just killed a guy who was so loyal to him to overthrow Paul, even though it was wrong. They were so loyal to him. And now he just killed that guy. Where are we going here, as John would say, right? Other families would, let's say, the chin and gas at this point may say, let's see who we're going to compromise to really bang this guy out. Maybe we could get them internally bang him out. Meaning John, after Sammy's gone. What happens to Sammy's crew once he bangs John out, once John kills Sammy? They're going to be called in. Like I said, Big Louie, maybe he goes at that meeting that they call Sammy in. Now he just killed Sammy and Louie. What do you think those guys are going to stop picking up arms? No way. They're going to lay down. They ain't going to die. I don't think they revolt. I know they won't revolt. I'm not even going to say think. They will fall in line. But the ramifications for John are going to be huge.
What was Sammy's respect level in the family, among the captains, from what you knew about Sammy? What was he then around New York and in the family?
He was very well respected. But I'm going to give you that big old but. Listen to what John says on tape. That pain in the ass Jimmy Brown complained about Sammy with Joe Francolino. Sammy takes him. Right? You don't think Jimmy Brown's mad? He made the beef. He was making beefs. Dan in Reno, he takes his cousin Johnny Gamarano and puts him with the construction. He takes him away from his cousin. John says, look, they got family fighting. They weren't blood cousins, but they grew up together, called each other cousins. And he says, look, they got family fighting. Sonny Saccone, right, with the Piers. He's got Louis Cicenti, who had a major role in the docks. He puts him with him, makes him his driver. And almost throughout those conversations at the end, makes even look to straighten the guy out. Never does. John never does. We could just keep going down the line of the people that got mad at him. The captains, the strong captain with the industries, which is more important. That's the nucleus of the family's business. That's the staple money that comes in. That's the milk and bread of your refrigerator that goes in your refrigerator. Maybe some people put their bread outside, though. Depends where you live. But I think, and don't forget, a guy like me, what did I say? When we first started, good thing I have nothing he wants. Did I follow Sammy? Did I look up to Sammy? Did I idolize Sammy at that time? Yeah. But look what he's doing. You see it. People, he can't talk about it openly and criticize him. You're going to go. Just like a lot of rumors about Sammy in the past, about a lot of other things. Say something about Sammy and you go. His paranoia, right, to keep secrets, lead to his own guy's death. So people see this, but they think just John's doing it. Look, in the beginning, this is the way John could say it, right? I want to kill Louis Melito. Louis is a shooter. Louis is a tough guy. If Sammy ever had any inkling about going on, Louis Melito's the guy I would have to worry about. Okay, Sam, go kill Louis. You don't have to ever worry about a guy that's a professional. Louis Melito's a professional killer. There's not bragging about a guy who could kill that way, but that's what he does. And eats a nice meal and goes to sleep soundly. That's Louis Melito. There's few guys like that, but he was one of them. But he was Sammy's guy. So if he goes to John, lobby him to kill him, it takes John a little while to kill him, don't forget. John said, what does he say? He asked me again. All right, Sammy, do whatever you want. He didn't want to kill Louis. But in John's mind, he may be calculating, all right, that's another guy that may be the guy to shoot me down the road. You got to remember, there's a lot of moving parts going on at times, not in just this family, in every family. Gas pipe killing Buddy Longo. What did Buddy Longo die for? He died because he had leadership skills and he was really liked in the Lucchese family. He killed a guy nobody even hurt, over here on the outside, nobody really here's this guy. But he was a really well-liked guy. So the guys become little pieces you could take out. Joe Messina killing the three captains. Joe Messina killing Sonny Black. Joe Messina killing George Scasha from Canada. All those guys were threats. Those guys were men. Those guys, in that life, they were tough guys. Those are the guys who would kill you. They were the workers. So this goes on in people's minds. A guy like John Meyer said after a while, go ahead. And he says it on tape. Right? Do whatever you want. That's because Sammy is pushing like Louis DeBono. So to get back to your question, yes, people definitely are seeing this, but there's a lot of people still respect it and love Sammy. His crew loved him. Were they fearful that something may happen? Of course, but their loyalty was right there with him. So it's a two-part answer to your question. And the outside families that he did business with were good. It was Gambino or Lucchese or Genovese or any other family doing business together. So it was a good thing. He had a lot of captains from other families come there on Tuesday night with construction. So you think a guy like Bobby Sasso as a president of 282 had to be called all the time by this guy? Bobby was a tough guy. He wasn't a main guy, but he ran that union. He was a tough guy. But Sammy made dog out of him at times, you know. So I think if Sammy dies, I don't think Bobby's too sad like a lot of other people. They went, shh. Just like with John being off the street. So, you know, there's no one everybody loves you or everybody hates you. That's a misnomer.
So I guess the concluding point of my second point I'm making is that, so essentially when I say that, you know, by killing Sammy, John looks like gas pipe at the time, just the guy wiping out his own family for his own paranoia. And by killing Sammy, I think John really now has to worry about the commission saying this guy's out of control, even more than he was already having to worry about the commission. And I think at that point, you start activating internal powers. With people thinking, people like Jimmy Brown, who maybe didn't want to even get into that slot, but says, you know what? I got it. I got no choice. You know, we got to get rid of this fucking John guy. And Jimmy now really knocks on the door of Chin and says, listen, John's out of control. I need you guys to back me. I don't got the ability to do it internally. I can't trust talking internally. Chin, I need you to stand behind me, and we got to get rid of it. And I think it's full mode in action if he kills Sammy.
Yeah.
Respond how you would like.
I agree 100%, but I think that was already in motion with Jimmy Brown way before. But it may prompt it a little further to push that ahead, because who's next? Who does John kill next? You know, the perception again would be money. I just want to make this clear again. John delegated. John says it on there. Don't show me a paper. I don't want to see a paper. He took the money, gambled it, spent it, whatever he did with it. He didn't want to hear where it came from. I trust you. I delegated you. I'm the boss. Make sure you don't fuck up. Bring that money in. And that's what John did. Now, if John kills Sammy, what does he got to do? He's got to go stop finding people to handle the construction business. Have guys that may be afraid to even come in now. Now, Sammy's dead. Tommy Bellotti handled a lot of stuff. Don't forget. Frankie DiCicco handled a lot of stuff with construction. They're all dead if he killed Sammy, right? Who would want to step in that show? Is John greedy? It may be a perception on the outside, but that people really know him. If he did, it would have been the army within an army that John was worried about. Not about money, not about greed, because John didn't care. Just bring me money and I'm happy. So the army within an army, which he spouts off about, and Frankie Lowe also adds in later on and reminds John about the army within an army. So Frankie Lowe's in the league with John at that point. So that's what John's worrying about, is Sammy's power, because he don't know how far and deep it goes. He don't know the breadth of it, because Again, remember Nikki Scoffo? What had Sammy said? How did John's thinking that way? What if they get to Sammy? To clip me. An army within an army. Why is he building this? Why is he doing this? Why isn't he turning into money? Why is he opening up all these companies without permission? Why isn't he telling me he's going to take a Frankie Lowe to New Jersey to look at construction plants, concrete plants? This is all building on John. He's too smart. You understand? He's looking for the rock now. He's looking to say, let me look under every rock. Before he slept, he was a clown. I fell asleep and all this stuff. Now he's diving deep. And he's really, in my mind, he's building the case to kill him. But there's one thing that stops him. And it's not money. It's not the cops. It's not the trial he's on right now. He couldn't care about all of that. There's one other point.
Okay.
My opinion point.
All right. Those are my now time for, so far I'm 1 and 2. This is my third point. You disagree with my first, you agree with my second. Okay. Point number 3. Now, this one's going to be controversial, but this is my opinion. I need everybody for this, and you, Michael, to go back to the time. I got to keep stressing that. The moment now, before we knew how Sammy was. All right. We don't know this information yet. We don't have the tapes yet. We don't know who Sammy is. All right. Point number 3. At the time, Sammy was the real power in the family. And John knew it. Don't respond yet. This is just my opinion. Okay. At the time, John, a very intelligent guy, he woke up from his slumber. What the fuck, man? I just woke up out of a dream. I'm the biggest boss in New York. How did I fall asleep? And he realized Sammy was controlling all the unions at the time. He was dealing with all the captains. He was like the middleman, the liaison between the captains, soldiers, and the administration. So he had a lot of relationships in the family. He had relationships in all 5 families and outside of New York. And might be another controversial statement, but I would say John had the love of the Turks, the young Turks, the guys like yourself, the guys who were fresh blood coming off the streets, the new guys, but they weren't really in strong positions yet. But John really didn't. John was accepted by the old timers, the long-standing guys who probably didn't agree with what John did, but they fell in line. The people that really had the power in the family, Jimmy Brown, Danny Marino, just didn't like you said before, they just didn't like John, and they would have, John didn't really, all he had was the Turks, the younger guys. Respond.
All right. Now, is that your final question that you had written down?
No, I got 3 more after this, but that is my third point. My third point is that Sammy was the real power. So respond to that. I'm saying Sammy was the power at the time. He was the power in the family.
Let's adopt this. Sammy had said in one of his shows, in this world of YouTube, that he told John, get your girlfriend and go out to Long Island. I'll handle the whole family. If that's true, that is to John saying, who's this guy chasing me out of New York? He's chasing me off the street in a nice way, like he said with Bobby Sasso. John says on tape, don't worry about Bobby Sasso. You don't have to handle him. I'll take care of him. You're going to think I got to disagree with you, but I agree with you. Sammy was the power base of the family. You left out one thing. Sammy's crew did a lot of work. Don't forget. Sammy's crew was doing the murders. That was a huge factor in John's mind and what Sammy's rep was. And it was legit. He was the strongest person in that family after a list of John's crew is not around anymore. And you could name Angelo, Johnny Canella, Jeannie, Arnold, Funzie, Ernie Boy, Frank Chico's dead. You know, you could just keep going through the list of people that are not around. John's real power base is gone. Yes, he has some capable guys out there, but not even close to the guys that are no longer with John, around John. Either dead or imprisoned. So John also sees this. So, you know, and you don't think Sammy sees it? He smells blood in the water. He knows what he has. It's like when he told me that day when I went to bring him a message, and he tells me, fuck John. What? Fuck John. You could say that about, you see my face, you could say that about the boss. Everybody talks about the boss. I say, is this place bud? You know what I mean? We're in his office. You gotta be kidding me. You know? I don't want this played back one day. So you could see everything's changing, and he knows it. Sammy has the confidence to know that he could take that family over in a minute. What does he say, again, true or not? What does he say to Frank Lucasio? Supposedly, right? I'm not going to be listen to anybody no more. I'm going to be the boss, Frank. That's it. Now you just shot Frankie Lucasio down to say, Frank, you're on the side. I'm the boss. He already had this in his mind, Sammy. Sammy knew it. And he was right at that time. He could have been the boss. There's no question. Yes, he would have had to kill John. There's no way he was getting without killing John. And some of the other guys that were left, he would have had to kill them. They weren't going to stand down like Sammy's crew after Sammy was gone. John's crew never would have tolerated that. Don't forget, he had a lot of brothers, blood, and a son in the street. He was a skipper now. Or he wasn't a skipper yet. He was a wise guy. In 90. He becomes a skipper, I think, in April, somewhere around there, 90. But Sammy knew all of this. He knew his relationships with Gas Pipe and other guys in other families that he could have garnered support. Would it have been a huge miscalculation for Sammy to kill John? Oh, yeah. I don't think he would have lasted 6 months to a year. He would have got killed by the West Side. No question. You can't keep killing boss after boss if Sammy made the move on John. And vice versa, again, what John does with Sammy. They're in a huge conundrum. They're not between a rock and a hard place if they kill each other. Either one kills the other one. They're in between a rock and a rock. There's no win for either one of them. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. That doesn't mean it can happen. There's only one thing, my opinion, again, I'll let you finish your stuff, why it don't happen.
Okay. So you agree with me on that. That's 2 out of 3. This is my point number 4. And I have 2 more after this, and then that's it. Point 4 is simple. John, no matter what Sammy was doing, he knew what Sammy was doing. He wasn't happy, but he needed Sammy. And because he didn't have the people left to take a risk of taking Sammy out, I do think he probably would have still held his family, even if he would have had problems with outside the family with the commission. But taking out Sammy, it created a double-fold problem. I got a bigger problem with the commission. I got a bigger problem internally. And to fix that problem, if I had it, I need a tough crew. I need a working crew. And I just eliminated the toughest crew, the toughest guy in the family. So my simple point is there was nobody really left that had the whole package: smarts, toughness, respect, everything. Jimmy Brown, Danny Marino were big captains, rich captains, powerful captains, but they weren't mattress captains. They can't lead a war. They can't lead a civil war. They can't. That's what they couldn't have done. And John just needed Sammy. He needed that big gun in the family. Respond.
Oh, I'm going to agree with you again. You know, it's look, how many crews were left? Whatever was left of John's crew. Joe Watts had some guys, right? That would have been loyal to John. You had George DeChico. There was nothing there. Like you said, Jimmy Brown and Dan Marino would have been clapping on sidelines, and they never would have been inclusive by either party in being instrumental in killing John killing Sammy, Sammy killing John. They never would have disclosed that to Danny or Jimmy. So who'd you have? You had Eddie Leno, who was a skipper very close to John. He's one of the shooters on the Castellana hit who shot Paul with Sally Scala. Tough guys. He had some guys there, John. You know, there was guys there. Frankie LaCasio had some guys in the Bronx. But look what John's doing. He's feeling out Frankie in that room for a couple of days, testing where his loyalty is, trying to figure Frankie out. What happened? And that was another thing that was troubling John. Did he lose Frankie's loyalty? Because Frankie knows better than he's supposed to check in with John with everything. I mean, they're in it together. Like I said, they were in it from before the Paul hit. So it looks like Sammy may be compromising in John's mind. So all this is going. But yes, John has some crews out there to do work, but Sammy is far-ranging. Don't forget, where do I line up? Where does my brother Frankie line up? Where does the rest of Brooklyn guys line up? There's a lot of Brooklyn guys there. So John sees this, and he's not sure. Maybe that's the reason why he extracts me from that Bensonhurst group. Jimmy Brown getting mad at me, and maybe Sammy getting mad at me. Potentially, he did not at that time. He understood it for some reason that John told me not to go around there anymore. It was basically saying, stay by me, you don't have to go anywhere else. And the boss calls you, the boss calls you. And Sammy understood that. And I wasn't in Sammy's crew. I was in another crew. But still, I was always perceived to be in Sammy's crew. I think there was guys who testified who thought I was in Sammy's crew in different cases in the past. And that's how close we were. So, yeah, Sammy was unequivocally the powerhouse crew in that family, taking everything into consideration. Yes, did he have his detractors? Did he have people that didn't like him? But still, when it came to killing, if there was a war, if there was an internal strife, it was against John or somebody else in the family or outside factors, Sammy was the crew that was going to do most of the work, for sure.
Okay. Point number 5, I would say, I think John weighed in his mind. Do I think this motherfucker will come after me? Do I think Sammy will kill me? And I think he concluded, he can't kill me neither. Just like I can't kill him, he can't kill me. I think he came to the conclusion that Sammy wouldn't have tried to kill him. And I guess I would say this. What reason did Sammy, because I don't want to fast forward to my concluding point, but what reason would Sammy have had at this time? They're not arrested yet. Nothing happened yet. Sammy really had no reason to kill John. He's getting everything he wants. Sammy got a yes to everything he wants. He knew this guy's over here on a waterbed sleeping. I'm the guy that's running the shit. But he's up front taking all the heat. He's going to be off the streets anyway. I think the cops are going to take him down anyway, and it's going to all be mine. I think Sammy saw at that time what you were talking about, John didn't see when the heat was on Paul. So Paul's busted in the commission case, like you said. John could have just sat back. He would have got everything he wanted without putting the bullets in Paul. I think Sammy's sitting there thinking, let me just go ahead. Keep signing autographs. Keep pissing off everybody in the family, calling everybody down here, 5 days a week, pissing off all the captains, doing all this flint. You're going to jail anyway. And then it's going to be mine. I got no reason to kill this guy. I got everything I want. I don't see a reason that Sammy would have had to kill John. And I think John, in a way, concluded that in his own head. You respond, yes or no,
So,
with commentary.
so what you're saying is, not encapsulate your whole statement because I do agree with certain parts in there. But John Gotti's going to have peace through appeasing Sammy Gravano. My turn. Because basically that's what you're saying is that John's going to sit back because he don't think that Sammy thinks this way. Sammy don't think that way. Sammy says he plays chess. The Mikey Scars story wasn't playing chess. He could have been set up with that by the West Side, that he could have been killed, or by John Gotti himself sending a message to test Gravano's loyalty. Don't forget, John Gotti had Joe Watts go there on Tuesday nights, Jackie the Actor. And what does Sammy say today? Again, I have to come now to tell you what's in Sammy's mind then. Maybe. We don't know what he's lying and what's not. But if you put these moves together, what does he say? Joe Watts cursed John. He didn't want to use tied to John. And Jackie the Actor. And Joe Watts going to go against John at that time? Never in a million years. That Jackie the Actor was beefing. Joe LaForte begging on his knees. John's this. He's pushing me. He's threatening me, shaking me down, and all this other stuff. Listen to what Sammy's saying. If Sammy feels like those guys were really going to be loyal to Sammy, yeah, Sammy's painting a picture that he can. He's not as calculating in that manner as John to weighing it, killing him. Where I do agree with you, John had the case. One case, another case, there's third case. Sooner or later, he's going down. I'll just sit back. There's where I get that. But we don't know the apartments bug. Going back to what you just said, let's go back to that time period, circa January 4th, 17, then 24th of 90. John beats that case. If there's no new case, and John is pulling up Sammy says, you got to back it down. You got to slow it down. I told you a million times, if these conversations are all true, Gravano is going to assess that, fuck this guy, like he told me, fuck him. He already had fuck him in his mind. He told me that. So if he had all this in his mind, what underbosses do? They kill their boss because they think they could do it better. John is putting all these variables together and calculating a decision. Why not? He lays the case out. Why to kill Gravano to Frankie Lowe, and is feeling out Frankie at the same time. Door opens. He's already talking to Frankie Lowe. Comes in the conversation. He's already talking to Sammy about structure, right? Door opens. It's Frank. Hey, wait a minute, Frank. And they finish talking about him being maybe the acting boss, but switching position, being under boss. Frankie Lowe hears nothing about that conversation. John again is going like this to Sammy on the pulse, looking in his eye, speaking nice, as you could have said, appeasing him. Peace through appeasement. At this point in time, John has a case. He may go away in this case. He really thinks it at this point. But he tells Sam, what does he tell Sam? Yeah, you'll be in jail in 6 months anyway. In January. So John is playing the game to weigh everything at this point. What should I do? He knows he's in a problem. Big problem. So if Sammy sits around and waits till John wins the case, and there's no tape case that he goes to wait for life, what do you think happens? My opinion, in time, no matter the reason I'm going to say, one has to kill the other. They can't live together. Sammy has gotten so powerful up here, like he is right now. Remember, he's the same guy now as then. You can see the delusions. You can see the megalomania. You can see the lust for power. and control. Everything he does is power and control, the manipulativeness. He's manipulating John. I'm a clown. What am I, a clown? Right? So John's seeing it. Sammy don't think he's seeing it because he didn't hear the tape. He thinks he's getting away with it. And again, I agree with you. This guy's going to fall. He's going to get, but his big man's getting pinched. Hopefully he don't get me pinched. See what Sammy says? Hey, John, maybe they pinch me. It's just construction. Oh, really? John says, nah, they got something else for you. Like, you really think that's it? Listen to the way this guy's trying to play with him. No, Sam, you get a case, it's not going to be construction. You're gonna be in trouble with me. And they don't know the apartment's bug.
Considering that we concluded everything that we were able to look at, would you agree that it's safe to say at this point that the most damning of those conversations where John's talking to Frankie Loke about Sammy and all of this, considering John never did anything and so much time passed, can we use that as circumstantial evidence to conclude that John was only testing Frankie? Yes, it was true, but he wasn't saying, I got to kill this guy. Maybe he was trying to see, if I have to kill this guy, where are you at? He's testing the field there. But the same thing when he's telling Sammy, what do you want to be? Acting boss, under boss, what do you want to be? Is he just trying to fill out his administration? Because we know nothing came of any of this stuff. So is it all just a test? Yes, he's pissed, but is it just a test to figure out his two most trusted men that he's relying on?
Yeah, well, at this point, John, in my opinion, John don't trust Sammy. That trust is out the window with these conversations. You don't trust Sammy no more. He's working on what you said. He's testing Frankie to see where he lies on this, where he stands. I agree with you there, but he no longer trusts Sammy. And the way he's laying this case out, no, he's really thinking about banging Sammy. No question in my mind.
Okay.
It's just
so he was thinking about it. Okay.
That's my opinion. Again, everybody's entitled to it. But you take all this evidence, because it is evidence, his words, and how he's formulating these scenarios with and without Frankie in the room, with this guy, Johnny D'Amato, in the room, how John sits there and gives these little speeches when they're together, the three of them, the list, the this, the that. It's John's really getting this. Well, how many times you say it makes me sick? I feel sick. I don't want to be sick. That's not an act. He's acting like that with Frank. Is he really going to call himself a clown in front of Frank? I feel like a clown. So I don't think he'll do that. John opened up a lot to Frankie because he liked Frankie a lot and trusted Frankie a lot at that point because he knows him a very long time. This conversation, if he didn't trust Frankie, felt, let me talk to Frank, see if I could pull him back wherever his mind went. He's making a mistake. Let me lay this case out to him. Hey, Frank, wake the fuck up. Right? Then we say, how many times I said it one thing? Hey, come on, answer me. What? You're not answering. Frankie's this is all hitting Frankie. Frankie's stunned by this. Frankie got brain lock here. He didn't even know what to say. So, no, John's really worried about Sammy. He knows he can't take over the family. And Sammy is quick to go. And John's not quick to go on killing people. Again, by his history. He thinks things through. It took him 9 months to kill Louis DeBona or more. It took him to get pushed to kill Louis Molito. Now, there's other guys there too. It took him a while to kill people. Well, it wasn't his killing. It was Gravano. We're going to talk about just those murders post Paul Castellano. Who benefited after Paul and Tommy got killed? You don't think Frankie says, Sammy, we're going to leave you with Tato, and Tato's going to be captain, you're still going to be soldier? No, they said, Tato's coming down. You're getting to skip a seat. Who benefited? He did. Frankie dies. Who benefits? He gets everything. Frankie, DB, and everybody else. Louis the Boner. Everybody dies. He gets it. He knows he's the guy. You know, and then all those little conversations with John about going to Long Island, staying out there. Don't talk to Bobby Sasso. Those are the little things that we could document and say that are true. Where John says, is this guy kidding me? Army within an army. I had a friend of mine, a wise guy, he flipped, Joe D'Angelo, told me Sammy talked about, on his end, building an army. That's a fact. It's not a lie. It's not fabricated. It's not made up. He'll never come out and say it. But he's told me that Sammy said he's got his little army. So these are things that, not shared before. But Joey had told me this. And there's other things that other people have told me, Eddie Garofalo and other guys, about Sammy's greed factor and his powers, this lust for power that he had. He would brag all the time that everybody comes and sees him. They come to him. That's out of Eddie's mouth. So look, when this happens, you can get misguided with power. How many leaders in world history have been seduced by being number one and had it all and risked all to be the number one guy? Go back to the beginning of time.
Okay. This is my final point. So that one there we're about 50-50 on.
Okay.
You agree with some, you disagree with some. I'm going to give myself a test score at the end of this. I'm talking to, top guy in the Gambino.
It doesn't make me right. That's your position, your opinion. And everybody on here is going to have a different opinion, maybe. Some may agree with me. Some may agree with you. Some may have their own insights, which would be great. Our live should be very robust. I can't wait for it.